أطع أمرنا نرفع لأجلك حجبنا.
We're at an interesting point in the lesson, which is the proof of God existing is something that was inbuilt. It didn't require a specific articulation, but later on human beings did reflect upon the creation of the heavens and the earth, reflect upon the signs in creation, and it pointed towards a perfect design, an intelligent design. They based their deliberations on the fact that the universe has a beginning. Everything has a beginning, has to have a cause. The universe has a beginning, therefore the universe has to have a cause. All of this ends up with the conclusion, which is that God exists. And in fact, this is actually one of the most important results and conclusions that you can come up with in the study of Aqidah, that God exists rather than does not exist. Like Leibniz says, why do things exist rather than not exist? God exists. Now, the moment that you say that God exists, we can actually have the most interesting discussion about what the qualities of God now will be. Is God vengeful? Is God irrational? Is God violent? Or is God merciful? Is God just? Is God compassionate? These are based upon the fact that you know that God exists. This is the quality of al-wujud, which is existence itself. And it allows us now to start to describe God with the qualities that we want to say God has. And these will be based again upon deliberations of religious sources and religious texts, like the Quran and the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So, as we come to this, we deep down have this faith in God. We can also articulate and defend that belief in God through rational proofs. And also we can respond to, any kind of misunderstanding or obfuscations that come from a person that says, well, God is just a figment of our imagination. Like, Freud, for example, a perfect example of this. He would say, well, God is nothing more than a projection of our desire to have a paternal figure in our lives. So we look at the father, the desire for the father to protect. And then he also says, well, the idea of God is nothing more than the attempt to have a perfect father. And right away, a religious person would say, well, that metaphor of God being paternal and protecting is something that religious sources themselves emphasize. That in Christianity, you have this idea of God as a father figure. In Islam, you don't have that, but you still have this idea of Allah being al-wali, who's the protector and guardian friend. So that is nothing more than indicating that if you have a mother or father that protects, then God's protection is far greater. And religions embrace that. And it's actually a pedagogical proof that God does provide in that way.
أطع أمرنا نرفع لأجلك حجبنا.